Has like your athletic background with CrossFit and all the other things you do, has that helped you to be more aware when you're out in the water? No, it's completely different. Tell me about that.
I remember, so like the first time I went out, I caught no waves. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I just went out with like this group of girls that had done it a long time, and I ended up just kind of sitting on my surfboard. But then I went out a second time, and I kind of got a lesson, and I got up on my first try. It just was kind of like the cues that helped. But it's definitely like, I'm just not really aware of my body in that like way, I guess. So it's like learning something completely different, and it was really fun. But right now, I'm really into boogie boarding. That's definitely more my pace. I think it's so much more fun.
There's something about boogie boarding because I go to the Outer Banks, North Carolina with my family almost every year. And sometimes they have really big waves that you can boogie board. And doing it as an adult is almost more fun than when I used to do it as a kid because it's like this freeing feeling of like, you don't know if you're going to tumble in the waves or have a face full of sand at the end. And I just love that you're able to now literally do that every day.
Yeah, it's super fun.
What has like getting involved with the community, making friends, because anytime you move somewhere new, like that's a huge part of it. Has it been like easy to get yourself out there and find your own little community in Hawaii?
I knew a few people here already, and then I kind of met people through them, which has been great. But I definitely like still am trying to get myself out there. It's just not something I'm used to, or like a skill I really have to like just kind of show up somewhere and be like, hey, like, you want to hang out type thing. But yeah, I mean, it's been great with the people that I do know and the people that I have met so far. So I'm excited to continue to do that.
Would you consider yourself more introverted?
Yeah, for sure. But it is like when I'm out doing stuff, like I usually enjoy it. It's just like the process of getting myself out there that is difficult.
You're also out there with your boyfriend, correct?
Yeah.
How would you say he's more extroverted, or how do the two of you like, are you yin and yang or more similar, or what's that dynamic like?
Yeah, honestly, we're very similar in that like we're fine if we're going to bed at 7:30 or
I love that.
If we're out doing something, like it's usually like a look at each other and it's like, okay, it's time to go. Like we're usually on the same page with all of that stuff, which makes it super easy.
If you could plan your perfect workout surrounded by your perfect day, maybe there isn't even a workout in your perfect day. Like, what does that look like for you?
Oh man. Well, I've been
so many things.
I've been super into running, and a lot of people don't want to run with me because they don't want to keep up type thing, and they know it's gonna hurt. And so I guess I would just say, like, it's beautiful to run outside here. So, like, going for a run, but like having a group of people to run with would be perfect.
I'm just wondering, like, how the opportunity to move to Vermont and train with HWPO all came about.
Okay, yeah. So at the end of 2021, I think Matt's agent had reached out to my agent at the time and said like they wanted me to come out to Vermont to hang out and kind of train for a little bit. So in November I went and did that. And then after I left that, we went to Utah for a good 2 weeks in December to just kind of like hang out and get the hang of like new training and like just getting to know each other, all that type of stuff. And then, I mean, ever since after that, it just was kind of like, hey, it would be really like helpful if you moved to Vermont. It'd be way easier to do like one-on-one coaching, which I agree with. It is definitely easier. So there was nothing really holding me back in Iowa at the time, so I was just kind of like excited and wanted to go give it a shot.
Was there any, because obviously like with the elephant in the room, you look at Hawaii and if anybody ever gave me an opportunity to move there, I'd be like, oh yeah, like beaches, sun, like dolphins, sharks, surfing, like there's all of these things. Where when I think of Vermont, it's very similar to where I live in Syracuse, and it's like you're going there for a very specific reason for training and for that like culture and environment. Was there ever any hesitation, or was it just like, this is the best opportunity for my job and this is what I'm going to do?
It was more like, this is the best opportunity for my job, and that's what I'm going to do. I had never been to Vermont or really on the East Coast. So it was, I mean, it definitely like similar small town vibes, but honestly, like I didn't explore it a ton. I just kind of knew my people and my space.
I assume you never went snowboarding in Vermont?
No.
No. I know. I don't think many people like trying to compete in CrossFit are going to do a lot of that. I mean, there's some, but if you're not already great at it, it's kind of a high risk sport, I suppose.
Yeah.
Looking into like your years going from a teen competitor pretty quickly right into the elite division, what was the mindset like? What was your routine like? Can you like put yourself back into that moment or some of those moments and like remember what it felt like?
Yeah, I think as a teen, like honestly, my mindset didn't change a ton from when I was a teenager to elite. I definitely like was shocked at the fact that I had kind of made the transition as fast as I did, and I think how fast it happened also kind of like maybe took away time to really reflect on the fact that I'm a teenager and everything I did accomplish as a teenager. But I mean, at the end of the day, I just wanted to work hard and do the best I could. And I kept that mindset the same throughout the years, and I might have overdid it at some points. But yeah, I would say my mindset was about the same throughout all the years.
I feel like it can be very difficult when you're such a type A personality and you want to work hard and you want to set up all of the success for yourself. But like through all of that, was there ever maybe just a little voice in the back of your head that was telling you, slow down or take a break or go do something else that you might find joy in? Like I know you love baking and some of these other things that aren't necessarily like confined to a gym.
Yeah, there was definitely like moments where I was like, I don't really need to be doing this much, but it's just like, even when that voice would come up, I was like, it almost made me want to do more, which doesn't really make sense, but it's like, I was kind of just thinking of it as a bad thing, where I was like, I shouldn't want to do other stuff. Like, this is my whole life, this is all I'm good at. Like, that's just how I thought. And I mean, there's moments I would come home and like go lay in bed at 4 p.m. because I've been training since 8, and it's just like that was my day, like 8 to 4, and then I'm in bed till the next morning type thing, because I was obviously exhausted and like I just didn't really have any drive to figure out if I like to do anything else or if I wanted to hang out with other people or have hobbies like that. My time was just so consumed, which is definitely like not how CrossFit is or how it should be. It's just how I approached it. And yeah, I mean, whenever I had that little voice in the back of my head, it was just kind of like, I shouldn't want to do that stuff, so just turn it off.
Was there ever anybody in your circle, whether it was family, friends, competitors, that had reached out and, you know, I don't know. It's like you see what you see online, and you're so competitive and you're so successful that I'm just curious if anybody had ever reached out and been like, "Hey, why don't we go do this? Why don't we take a break? Why don't we, see if you like to join a reading club?" Or I don't know. That may sound nerdy, but just something that like can turn your mind off of the training.
Yeah, I definitely had like a few moments where, I mean, it's something as simple as like, hey, do you want to go out to dinner tonight? Like, just little stuff like that. And I would do it, and sometimes I wouldn't do it. But it was just like, even while I was doing that stuff, I couldn't really ever enjoy it. Like, my mind was literally thinking about what's on my spreadsheet for tomorrow, what I'm doing the rest of the week, how I need to be in bed by 8:30 and I'm still out at 8 type thing. It was just like really hard to be in such a strict routine and still allow myself to do other things like that without being uncomfortable. So there was definitely like looking back, I can tell how much people were trying to help me and like why we did little things that we did. But in the moment, it just wasn't clear to me that that's what they were trying to do.
Has there been anything else in your life that you feel or you know that you were at this level of like being extremely focused and not able to almost see some of those outside things?
I mean, I did competitive gymnastics from like 3 years old to like 9 years old, and then I went into competitive dance and competed at track meets and was on the volleyball team and swim team, and like that was just my life. So I've been doing stuff like that for a long time, but nothing as serious as CrossFit. And I think that's just because the older I got, I kind of set a dream when I was 12 years old, and then I didn't want to stop it until I had accomplished it. And, I think one of the biggest things I realized is I set a dream when I was a kid, and I'm not a kid anymore, and I don't really want that anymore. And that was really hard for me to realize, but I am a different person. I've grown a ton. I've been through a lot of stuff, and that that was like a really big realization for me to learn.
Yeah, like, wow, 12 years old. That I'm trying to think of what kind of dreams I had at 12 years old. And
You're like, I want to be a vet. I want to be like a whatever. Like, and it usually doesn't happen. But
right.
It's like every kid's like little dream, and they always say it out loud and whatever, and then they just end up doing something completely different, and they're like, wow, I can't believe I wanted to do that when I was a kid. And I don't know, I just always think about that.
Do you remember the moment when you knew that you had to take a break and pull away?
Yes, it was after quarterfinals. We had a few days off, and I was just like, I cried every single day after quarterfinals during my time off just because I didn't want to go back to train. And for me, that is very rare. Like, for the past however many years, I've always just been like more and more and more. Like, I can't wait to train. I'm excited. Like, it's never enough, all that type of stuff. And that was just the first time I was like, I do not feel like myself. I don't know what's happening. I feel so drained. Like, every workout I did gave me like a ton of anxiety. I wasn't looking forward to it. It could be something fun even, and I was just like, I don't want to do it. So that's just the mindset I was in after that. And it was also because like I had won the Open and I had won quarterfinals, and I was still like empty. Like I didn't feel fulfilled at all, and I was like, that is such a red flag. Like I'm afraid of where this is going.
Burnout is such a real thing with anybody who performs at the highest level the way that you were. Before those feelings started setting in, were there other times in your life where you had felt burnout, and was it similar?
I mean, I think I felt it like a few times